So, yeah, all right. So, McCain, Aretha Franklin, Neil Simon died. Louis went back on stage for the first time. I was not there.
Louis was resurrected.
Went back on stage and performed. What do people want him to do? Not do comedy? Like, what is he supposed to? I don't know what the answer is. What do you expect? People who are mad that Louis went on and did comedy, people who have had problems have been making a living since forever. Like, how come you're not as mad about it? And I hate to be the comparing guy, but like the Hollywood Reporter is coming out and making like it was a big deal that he did stand-up. Well, he's a stand-up. It's what he does.
Right. The question is...
What the fuck do you want?
I think the only thing... He probably should have addressed it. It's somehow in stand-up, not go up there and do a mea culpa, but like he didn't bring it up at all in his stand-up, which maybe, I don't know, maybe it's too big of a risk. Maybe he doesn't want to come right up and do that. But I still think just so it's like we're acknowledging the elephant in the room.
Or maybe you want to, if you haven't been on stage in a while, like whatever, 8 or 9 months, that's probably the longest in his career by far that he hasn't done comedy. So maybe you're a little nervous and you want to just get up there and perform again. And before you know that anything you say, people are going to write about.
Right.
So before you address this and maybe address it improperly, you want to do a few sets and fucking just be performing again and then address. That's, again, I haven't talked to him, but maybe he didn't want to address it wrong because it was his first set back in 10 months.
That's possible too. And like the idea, I guess the Comedy Cellar used to be a place that you could just kind of go in, work stuff out and stuff would stay there, right? Like, didn't it? Like, I'm sure that, well, I don't, who knows?
Social media changed everything.
It changed everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows everything now. But the idea was, because I know some people were saying, like, he snuck back into comedy. Like, when nobody was looking, he snuck, and it's like, this is what comedy is. That's how you would come back unannounced, because you don't want to build up expectations or anticipation. You come into your home club, do 15 minutes, see how it feels, and just kind of assess where you're at.
He's a comedian. That's what he does for a living. I don't know what people expect him to not make a living. If you don't like Louis, then don't go see him. And if you're a woman and he makes you uncomfortable, okay, don't perform with him. Those are your options. But to criticize the fact that he did perform, like he shouldn't perform or speak, like what do you want him to do?
Yeah, I don't think it's a really weird thing that's happening now where people are like, well, he shouldn't be allowed to perform. He shouldn't be allowed to come back. Whether they're saying he shouldn't be allowed to come back yet, or there are some people that are saying he shouldn't be allowed to come back at all. But it's like, what is allowed? Like, we're adults. Like, what do you mean allowed? I get it if you're saying, if he works for FX and you're going, hey, FX, you shouldn't hire him back. I don't agree with that, but that's a conversation. To say that somebody shouldn't be allowed to perform, the only people that dictate that are the ticket buying public. It's people, right? You're a comic. There's no allowed or not allowed.
And then people say, well, how come we weren't told he was coming? Well, they didn't know. People didn't know. He just stopped in.
Right.
What are they going to do? Not put him on? Of course they're going to put him on. And they should put him on.
Right. And if you want to walk out, walk out.
You have the option of quietly leaving. And by the way, all these dumbbells that think it's okay to dissent and speak up in the show, shut the fuck up. It's not.
No.
If you don't like what's happening on the stage, you have the perfectly fair option of leaving.
Yeah.
That's an absolutely fair option to remove yourself, no criticism.
And
you can do that.
Go to the Comedy Cellar and say, I want my money back because I didn't know Louis would be here and I wouldn't have paid for it. And you show, like, that's...
And no one would probably give it back to you.
I believe that.
Yeah. All right, fine.
That, to me, is the way to solve these things, is to just let the audience dictate. If you don't want to see it, that's fine. Don't see it. If you didn't know he was going to be there, get your money back. If you know he's going to be there, don't buy a ticket. And if nobody...
Then again, don't even get your money back. You fucking know people stop in there. Just drop in guests all the time.
Yeah, but if you really don't want to contribute to Louis C.K., if you have that kind of grudge against him, I'm fine with people getting a refund because you got to...
If you're the club owner, you probably will because you're a good businessman.
Right.
I'm just a dick, and I'd be like, well, look, don't come back.
Right.
I'm going to tell you. What do you want me to tell you? It happens.
I think, as a good businessman, you kind of have to give the money back. But that's where you're supposed to make it count in the pocketbook. You know what I mean? Like show with your dollars whether you support this guy or you don't. But so many people who are like, Louis shouldn't be doing this, don't go see comedy anyway. You're not the audience. Like, what are you talking about?
I just don't know what people want. What would satisfy people?
Because they go, well, it's only been 9 months. Okay, well, then tell me the amount of time.
Yeah, like what is the amount of time and what is the appropriate behavior or thing you would need? He came out, he wrote something. He came out, he admitted what he did, and he wrote it, and then he went away. Like, what do you want him to do? I don't know what they want from Louis.
They said in the Hollywood Reporter, here's what I have a problem with. He controlled, in a monstrous way, the manner of his professional return. And then he used the word rape in his set for laughs for a joke about how rape whistles are unclean.
Yes, he used the word rape in a joke.
It's not even a joke about rape.
No, of course it's not. It's about the idea of clean as a whistle. Yeah, it's...
But, I mean, why shouldn't he? Who gets to control his career then? I think Louis controls his career. If he makes a mistake, he makes a mistake and he pays for it. He's the one paying the penalty. He's the one who should be controlling the career, right? Who are the people that dictate when an artist gets to perform again? Who is the Congress of stand-up comedy that gets to decide when your time has been served, how long the amount of time is, and when you get to come back? Like that's
and what happened. Yeah, and when you're allowed to perform again.
Like what is the alternative that we're doing? Should he disappear forever from the face of the earth? Should he kill himself? Is this a death penalty?
Yeah, should he never tell jokes again?
Right. Does he every time anybody sees his face, should he look sullen and go, I'm sorry.
I just don't know what people want, or what. Like, no one is saying this is what I want to happen.
And the one thing I'm hearing in terms of that, where they're saying this is what I want to happen, is people are saying, because they say this about other people too, that he hasn't proven that he's learned his lesson. And this is 5-year-old speak.
Yeah, prove it. To who, you?
Yeah, why?
You're not the person.
Hasn't proven that he's learned his lesson. What you do now is he said he was sorry, right? He admitted to what he did. He went away for 9 months. At this point, all you can do is sit there and watch his behavior. If his behavior repeats, he's learned his lesson. I mean, if his behavior repeats, he hasn't learned his lesson. If his behavior is corrected and he kind of changes his dialogue a little bit, then he's learned something. But like, you can't sit there and go like, okay, your timeout hasn't been long enough. You have to prove to me. Now, Louis, what did you learn while you were gone? He's an adult. You know?
I just don't know exactly what would make people go, okay. Some people will never go, okay. Some people would have said, okay, the day after. Like, you just...
And who are the people that need to say, okay, yes, I believe you've learned your lesson?
And how do you know if somebody's learned their lesson? How do you know what somebody internally feels about what happened? Like, do you need them to convey to you that they've learned something? That's what it is. What people should say is, I don't like him going back on because he has not told me what I want to hear about how he feels. Like, maybe he feels horrible. He has 2 daughters. Maybe he feels terrible. Like, who knows? Maybe Louis has tremendous regret and has been, I don't know. But maybe he has learned his lesson. Maybe he feels fucking horrible about what happened. But he hasn't conveyed to who? Exactly.
Right.
To who? Who is he not conveyed it to? I just don't know what people want. If people came out and said, I want him to not work for 2 years, and then I want him to say this, at least you've said that's what you want.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Got it. That's what you want.
Not this sort of like, well, I just don't feel like it's time yet. And you're like, well, who are you?
And what else was there too? There's something else happened besides Louis coming back. There was one other thing, or a couple of other things, but there was another one that I forgot. I'm trying to remember it now before we...
I don't know, but people are also comparing it to like Kevin Spacey and this and that. And it's like you also... I think that's something that got lost early. I think we've caught up with it a little bit, but something that got lost early with the Me Too movement was the degrees to which people were offending, right? The degrees to which, how egregious the things that people did were. Was what Louis did right now, but was what Louis did on the level of what Kevin Spacey did? No.
Or Harvey Weinstein?
Harvey Weinstein? No. Louis,
of course not.
You know, Louis made some mistakes, but they're like easy mistakes to come back from.
It was like one of those things where if you can't see the difference between a guy making dumb moves and a guy trying to fuck a 14-year-old who's, you know, or a guy drugging somebody, come on.
Yeah.
By the way, that you just made me remember the other story, the huge story. And how do you say her name? Is it Asia or Asia Argento?
Asia Argento?
Is it Asia Argento? I've heard her name pronounced differently. Asia Argento. Wow. That was a huge story.
We talked about that, though.
Did we really?
Yeah.
Oh, right. The text messages. That's right. Yeah. More has come out, which is what I was wrong about the text messages. She did not intend for them to come out. Those were sent a while ago,
Right.
to Rose McGowan's partner, Rain Dove.
Mm-hmm.
That was the part. The text messages were not accidentally. It was not like purposeful.
I got you.
I was
got
incorrect.
You. I got you.
What a fucking and the X Factor fired her.
Yeah.
And she admitted, and they're saying she was getting pictures since the kid was 12.
Yeah, I don't know. The New York Times said about Louis C.K. How long should a man like Louis C.K. pay for what he did? At least as long as he worked to silence the women he assaulted, and at least as long as he allowed them to doubt themselves and suffer in the wake of predation. Predation. I guess that's from the root word predator.
I don't know.
And at least as long as the comedy world protected him, even though there were very loud whispers about his behavior for decades.
I don't know how the comedy world protected him.
That's the thing. And you, I mean, it's every industry. Like, were there rumors about Louis C.K.? Of course.
Sure.
There's rumors about a lot of people, but can you, like, are you protecting somebody? How were you protecting them? By not doing a full investigative report?
Yeah, like there was one. Like I said, there was one name I heard attached to it, and then she had come out at one point and goes, "No, that did not happen with me." So then it just kind of went away. And it's the comedy world protected him. Come on.
Yeah, comedy world's not that powerful. Let's go to Luke in California.
Hey, what's going on?
What's up, Luke?
Hi, Luke.
Yeah, well, first off, I agree with Louis coming back. I think he should. I think what people got upset about was that he didn't give the heads up, which I understand your point, Sam, that, you don't want to build anticipation, but I guess the people felt like they were caught off guard that were already there at the comedy club, and they didn't really have a choice whether or not they wanted to see Louis.
I get that, and that's why I have zero problem with anybody trying to get refunds or getting refunds because they're like, I don't want to see Louis, I have a problem with him, but that's totally fine with me. But there's lots of comics at the Comedy Cellar that are unannounced that come in. That's kind of what the Comedy Cellar
Amy
is.
Chappelle,
Yeah.
Damon Wayans, when
And
Kevin Hart goes on, they're all unannounced.
And it's where people like that go to kind of work out what they're doing. Being a comedian is not like being a musician where you can just go in a studio and perfect a set and then jump on stage and be like, here we are. Like, you have to, no matter how big you are, you have to practice this stuff somewhere. Like, Ricky Gervais, before he goes touring giant theaters, has a little club in England where he goes to. Kevin Hart does stuff Kevin Hart does smaller theaters instead of arenas.
Kevin Hart will do a 3,000-seater just to work out.
Yeah, that's a different deal.
I think to this guy's point, though, like Noam even agreed in his Hollywood Reporter interview, saying like they have a point. They're going to have to figure out some way to let people know that he is going to be there because he sees that as a valid argument. That people shouldn't feel trapped by that.
And I think that that's valid too, but I think that the refund offer makes up for it to me.
Yeah, but I think he's kind of conscious of like, let's not ruin somebody's night,
Yeah.
Bottom line is, here's what it should be. There are drop-ins that come in. It could be any comedian. And then in that,
some of them might have jerked off in front of some girls. What can I tell you?
You probably wouldn't put that in the ad.
Okay.
But the bottom line is now, if any comedian might drop in, you understand that it's a possibility. And if you don't want to possibly have that happen, okay, fine.
I'm okay with them.
They can't warn people that he's coming because that's not what he would do.
Well, maybe he has to.
But how many sets are sold out? I mean, they sell out every night.
Every
right?
show.
Yeah.
So to announce it, an hour or two ahead of time when the show is already sold out.
There's no way that would ever happen. I'm just telling you, under no circumstances would that happen. It just won't. It's not the way those things work.
No, I know it's not. But this is also the first time that,
you've had to deal with something like this.
that something has had to be dealt with. I know that that's not how it works, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually persona non gratas aren't performing at the Comedy Cellar.
But he's not a persona non grata there.
He is to, he is to some of these people.
Sure. But
and the Comedy Cellar has become so mainstream that it's not just comedy fans anymore.
he will just...
Right. That's the other problem, is that it's a destination now.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a tourist spot.
Well, if you know, now that if you
For
know...
better or for worse. I mean,
Sure.
Whoa.
If you know that that's a possibility, then you have to know that, okay...
So you think you can it's enough to just say, this is the Comedy Cellar. At any moment, Louis C.K. might be
Any
here.
comedian might be here. Dave Chappelle might be here.
Yeah, but nobody's mad about Dave Chappelle.
But the point is, any comedian might be here. That's the way it is. And if you don't want to possibly take the risk that a guy like Louis, who you don't like, would go on, okay, then don't go. And I'm not saying it to be go to a show where it's an opener middle headliner show where you know who's going to be on. Like those are much easier shows to predict, like a regular 3-person show. Like for instance, go see John Witherspoon at Caroline's or somebody where you know it's going to be him. Or go see Paul Mooney's show. Louis not dropping down that one.
Yeah, but do people know comedy enough to understand that that's how it works? I don't think so.
Maybe not. But if they know that any comedian can drop into a club, then they will either take that chance and go, or they won't.
You'd almost have to put up a sign that says, be warned, like a warning sign. Not like it's not a positive thing anymore. Any comedian could pop in, and then in parentheses, including Louis C.K.
Well, he falls into the category of any comedian. You wouldn't have to put including.
Well, but people need to know. I don't consider Louis C.K. a comedian.
They know he's a comedian.
He's an enemy of the state.
Yeah, they really whatever. It is what it is. It'll all work out.
The Comedy Cellar could be like, hey, you know that guy who our club is in the intro of his show? He might be here. So
Right.
just so you know, It happens from time to time.
Yeah, they're not gonna, tell him, hey, you can't go on.
Now,
No, and Noam said that in his interview. His interview was great, by the way.
I read it too. I thought it was really, really good.
I thought he spoke very well, and he was very upfront about not having all the answers. But I think everything that he said was right on point.
Noam is creating a platform for comedians to do what they
Sure.
do. I don't think that the club is not responsible for what gets said on the stage. That's the whole point of comedy, that you're trying to figure it out. And I think that is the place, if any place, that Louis should be trying to come back. It's that place. So you tell me, Jim, does the reason it would never happen, is it because Louis will show up maybe halfway through a show and go like, can I get up for 15 minutes?
He just comes in. He'll
Like
walk
it won't
in.
be a call in advance or something.
No,
I see.
It never is, which
see.
is why comedians get bumped, or Jerry will just show up, or any of these guys will just walk in, and then if they want to go on right then, they can go on right then. They can, or they'll Chris Rock will come in. A lot of times they'll, all right, I'll go after him. Okay, fine.
And they would never like say, hey, Louis, trust me, we love you, but we respect you, but with all this press going, I need you to call before you come.
No, because then everybody's phones would be out. Reporters would show up. Somebody would contact a reporter. Like, again, that's going to happen anyway. There's going to be people who would talk about it. But it also just kills the spirit of what's happening. And then if he doesn't come, because a lot of times people just decide not to come, all of a sudden, you said he was going to be here. No, he's not. It's a whole fucking thing.
Right. It upsets the entire model of the way things are
The
done.
reason any famous person goes there, or Gotham or any other club, is because they want to just go on and work out material. They don't want any pressure of the audience knowing that they're coming. They just want to walk on, do their stuff, and leave. And that's what most of them do.
Yeah, I think the only thing you could do, I think putting up a sign or something and some refunds if people really want them. And that's it. At that point, if you've refunded somebody's money, the club doesn't have any more responsibility.
They really don't. And if you didn't like the fact that he was on, okay, I understand that.
That's fine. But just get your money back and go on with your life. Right?
Yeah.
Like, don't sit there and go like, well, I would be okay with it, but he hasn't apologized to me personally or proven to me as an individual that he is actually sorry. Are you really sorry? This is like when you're arguing with like your wife. She's like, I know you said you're sorry, but are you really sorry? You don't seem sorry. All right, just let me prove to you through my actions.
Yeah, I mean, and you do look at the fact that look at Bill Clinton, the way he's welcomed into play. Like, people who have done things or have been accused of things.
He's sitting behind a pastor that's groping Ariana Grande. Everybody's like, it's Bill.
What are you supposed to do?
Right.
Not function and not work?
But when Bill acted out, it was before Me Too.
Oh, that's right.
So that's a little bit different.
There's a great photo of him leering at Ariana.
I saw it.
People tweeting like, "Goddamn, Bill, it's a funeral."
No, Bill doesn't care. Look,
No, he does not.
Troy, Jim, I want you guys to know. You look at that pastor at 60. You look at Bill Clinton, who's an old man at this point. You look at Hugh Hefner and the life that he led. These sex drives are not going away. Okay? These desires that you have, they're not going away. Sorry. Scott in North Dakota?
Yeah. just this Louis C.K. thing, it just reminds me a lot of what's going on in the NFL for the last 5 years, going back to Michael Vick or longer, where the public wants to punish these guys forever, and they want to decide how long they should be out rather than just the law or the team themselves. They need to force the NFL. They want these guys to never work again.
Yeah, you kind of got to just let it happen. And if nobody wants to watch them play football, nobody will buy tickets or nobody will watch the games, right?
Exactly. Or it should be up to the team himself. The team,
right.
If the direct employer wants to do it, that's fine. But most of the people that are screaming for this stuff, they weren't NFL fans. They hate the NFL.
Right. It's very, very
it's
similar.
The same people with Louis.
Yeah.
It's the same people with Louis. They don't care about comedy. It's not comedy fans. It's people that didn't like Louis before.
Absolutely right. Thank you very much, Scott. Are you looking at this photo of Bill Clinton and
it's
the way
hilarious. Who's the woman on the bottom scene? Is she like a gospel singer? I don't know who she is.
I didn't see that.
That's very funny.
There's a larger African-American woman who's a little bit older than Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
And Bill Clinton is sitting there droopy-eyed with his head in his hand.
Falling asleep.
Almost asleep.
What a terrible poker face.
And right above her is Ariana Grande, and he looks like a toddler who just walked into an ice cream store for the first time.
Couldn't be